Limited expectations bring limited experiences. Today we have no expectation for God in our lives, which is why there are no experiences. If we want to experience God, then we have to have an expectation in order to see the demonstration of his power. So expectations are everything, and anticipation is required in order for us to experience God. But we still don't have any. We have no expectations. But instead, we have a program. And even worse, our program is so set up and so put in place that there's no room for God to show up and have his way. And this shouldn't be. So that's what I want to talk about today. This kingdom key of expectation and anticipation, because it's very important. So let's talk about it. I mean, what better way to live than like royalty? All right, don't get me wrong. I understand that consistency is important. I've studied social sciences and understand how important that is in developmental stages and all of that, but it can also be detrimental. And this is what we're experiencing today, because when we condition ourselves through these routines and traditions, then we take away our expectation to experience or expect anything greater or anything more. And this is what we're dealing with today with religion. That's what religion does. It takes away expectation. It puts in place specific standards, routines, traditions that you have to follow. And you get conditioned to believing that anything you'll ever gain, anything you'll ever experience is due to following these traditions and routines. And many times what religion is creating, what all of these churches are creating, are things that are contrary to the Bible or putting a limit on the Bible, which is why we can't experience the power of God or experience the move of his spirit more freely within our lives. So that's what I want to talk about today and examine in a little bit more depth. So to do that, I want us to go to a story in the Bible where Jesus healed the man at the pool of Bethesda. And you can find that in the Gospel of John, the 5th chapter. You can start at the 2nd verse and go through about the 16th, but I mean, it's even further. You can keep reading. You can always keep reading the word because it's so rich. But that's where the bulk of everything happens. So the most interesting thing about this is that all of the people who were present here at this pool had been witnessing and seeing miracles for years, for years. Every season they had saw an angel come down and trouble the water and somebody get in and be healed. Yet they didn't understand the significance of it. And I know they didn't, because they were conditioned to believe that that was the only thing. They only had expectations for that, and they couldn't see themselves experiencing anything greater or being healed in a different way. It had to be through that. So again, limited expectations, which brought these limited experiences. And we see with this man at the pool that he had been there for 38 years. 38 years. And when Jesus asked him, "Do you want to be made whole?" his response was in the conditioned mindset. "Oh yeah, I want to be healed, but every time I go to step in the water after the angel come, somebody get in before me." So the only thing he was expecting was to be healed by getting in that water. But we know the story. If we don't, go and read it. 2nd verse through about the 16th to give you that. And Jesus ends up telling the man, "Rise, take up your bed and walk." And he's healed and he walks away. Yet the significance of this healing, now I'm finna go to the religious side, the significance of this healing wasn't recognized by the religious leaders. It wasn't, because instead of recognizing that this man was walking, they recognized that he was carrying his bed. Now, that's my problem with religion. Instead of them being happy that the Lord had healed this man and that he was made whole because he had been there 38 years and couldn't walk, they were more concerned about him carrying his bed on the Sabbath. Their tradition was more important than this man receiving his healing and being made whole. So the only thing they were concerned about is, why are you carrying your bed? Why are you disobeying the Sabbath? Why are you doing this? Who told you to do that? So we see even then that religion was trying to stifle and put a limit on the power and the move of God. But it couldn't. The main reason that Jesus came was to show us that we should be expecting more and we should be experiencing more. His significance of healing this man was to show him that there's a more excellent way. There's an easier way. There is more that you can be experiencing and gaining. So he healed this man as a show and demonstration to everybody at that pool that this isn't the only way that you can get what you need. This shouldn't be the height of your expectation. You shouldn't be limited to just this pool, to just this angel, to just this water. You should be able to expect and experience more. But again, the religious leaders weren't happy about this. They didn't like this, didn't like that. They always had a problem with Jesus. And Jesus constantly reiterated to them and to everybody around him that I'm not doing anything that's outside the will of my Father. Showing them that although I might be disobeying the Sabbath, or my disciples may not have washed their hands before this or did that, those traditions mean nothing. It's good that you have them and it's fine, but by me not following that doesn't mean that I'm sinning. By me not following that doesn't mean that I'm now in jeopardy of not receiving what I need or not being able to do what I should be doing. So don't allow these traditions, don't allow these routines, these rules to dictate how you experience God or how you obey the will of the Lord. If it's something that you are supposed to be doing or can be doing, and you feel like you can't do it because of something that has been established in your church, your religion, then go to the word. Line that up with the word. See if the word either confirms that and stay away from it, or the word doesn't say anything about that, and that's just a limit that has been man-made, and that's a man preference. So again, these religious leaders had problems with Jesus, but his whole thing was to show them that this law is limiting. This law is limited. And Jesus said, I came not to take away a law, not to take away the law, but that the law might be fulfilled. So he came to fulfill the law. That means do everything for it completed, so that now we can understand that although we've looked at this as a limiting thing, it's actually empowering. So Jesus came to bring the empowerment of the word. He came to show us that we've been living a limited life, and we don't have to anymore. So these people, they grew faithless. They began to confine God to only what they saw within their written laws and rules and regulations, versus being able to experience the fullness of God outside of what was written within those texts. Your experience of God shouldn't be limited to the Bible. It shouldn't be limited to the church. You should know God more, because everything about him isn't written in his word. So you have to expect to experience more of him and to learn more of him, because that's the job of the Holy Spirit. So we can't quench the Holy Spirit. We can't restrain the Holy Spirit. We have to allow the Holy Spirit to have his freedom, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And that liberty is what helps us be able to expect and experience more of God. So we should be experiencing God not just in church, not just, around our friends who are saved, but we should be experiencing God at our schools, on our jobs, with our families, everywhere, because we should be able to ask God and expect God to show up to help us with whatever we have a problem with, to allow us to be more productive and efficient when we're at work, when we're in school, to be able to help us to study and to learn and all of these things. God is not just limited to the church. Godliness is profitable unto all things. All things includes all things. So let's not limit God and limit what he's able to do and how we're able to experience him and work with him to make our lives better. That's what religion has done. It's made us think that God isn't in certain things and he won't help us or won't do this or won't do that. Why? Why not? If Jesus could come and his Father help him to heal people that weren't saved and didn't believe, for Jesus to be around people that other people didn't think he should have been around, if God could enable Jesus to do all of that, and that be the will of the Father with him, what's the difference with us? Because we should have that same mind of Christ to do anything that's pleasing to God. And without faith, without expectation, it's impossible to please God. So expectation is very important. We need to have it. And we need to make sure we are having the high expectation, so we can experience these high movements of God and experience the moving of his Spirit. So we need greater expectation. This is the good news of the gospel, that we don't have to be limited anymore, but we can have an abundance of life. It says that God is able to do exceedingly and abundantly above all that we can ask or even think. Why would we limit that? Why should we limit that? Why should we allow others to limit that? We shouldn't. So practice this kingdom key of expectation and anticipation, and I promise you, God will begin to show up. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, then go ahead, like, comment, let me know what you think. Subscribe to the page, share this with your friends and family. Don't allow tradition to put you in a box, to put God in a box so that you don't experience anything greater. You could be experiencing more. You should be experiencing more. So go out, have greater expectations for God to show up and move in your life and experience him. Grow closer to him. Learn more about him. That's his will concerning you. And that's all I have. So I'll see you in the next video.